Howdy, howdy, folks. Once again, this is Donnie. And in previous videos in this particular playlist, we've been looking at how to create, format, and mount partitions on a Linux system. But there's some special considerations that you might not know about when you're doing this with systemd. And of course, most of you are running systemd unless you're running something like Slackware or Dev1, which does not include systemd. But for most distros out there, for most modern Linux distros that are out there, yeah, you're going to be running systemd. So we want to take a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples here of how this works on three different machines, three different setups. And we're going to start here on the laptop, which I'm using to create this video. And this laptop is running Lubuntu 20.04, which is just Ubuntu with the LXQT desktop. And you can probably tell by my host name that this is a Hewlett-Packard laptop. That's okay, doesn't make a difference there with that. But anyway, systemd actually does the mounting of file systems on a machine with systemd. And it does that with mount units. And you can see here I am in the libsystemd system directory here on this machine. And we can take a look at our different units here. And this is the way that systemd works. It works with all these different units. You got service units to control your services. You see timer units to control timers, path units, for things that you want to control when something happens with a path or something like that, when something happens in a directory or file, stuff like that. Lots of different units here. But the ones we want to look at here for right now are the mount units. And you see there we've got several of them. And so you see there you've got the huge pages, MQ, the proc file system, the sys file system, several of them for the sys file system, and so forth. But you see that there are none there for our normal partitions. So what's up with that, right? So where are these mount units then for the normal partitions? Well, to answer that question, we're going to look at a man page, and we're going to do man systemd.mount. And this is the man page, which tells you how to configure a mount unit file. So if we go down here, okay, under the Fstab session, or the Fstab section, I should say. Okay, it says mount units may be configured by unit files or via the etc Fstab file. Aha! So mounts listed in etc Fstab will be converted into native units dynamically at boot and when the configuration of the system manager is reloaded. In general, configuring mount points through Fstab is the preferred approach. Okay, so what it's really saying here is that, yeah, we're just going to use the Fstab file as we've seen in previous videos. And of course, in all those previous videos, I was using systemd virtual machines, to do the demos. So, so we know that it works, right? So just this quick review here. Let's go into the etc directory. And we'll look at the Fstab on this particular machine. And you can see there that, yeah, we got a regular ext4 partition here for the boot partition. Because remember, we cannot boot from logical volumes. Up here we have the logical volume. Both of them are formatted with ext4. And then down here we have the swap file, or the swap partition, I should say, which is also a logical volume. All right. So anyway, what happens when we boot the machine is that systemd will read this fstab file and automatically convert this information into a dynamic mount unit file. And the way we see that, so we'll go into the run directory, run systemd, and generator. Okay, so here we have our different mount files. Okay, so we got the boot.mount right there. We can take a look at that. Okay, so we see how it's set up here. And this is stuff, unless you are going to become a Linux programmer, you know, where you're going to have to program stuff that'll automatically generate these files, you don't really have to know about this that much, because you're not going to write these on your own anyway. But still, though, there's some interesting things about it. And we see there the source path there. We see the source path. It is reading in the fstab file from the etc directory. And then we have the targets there. We're going to have this before the local file system target. And a target, what that is just a collection of different services and whatever else that all work together to serve some particular purpose, right? And of course, most of the time when people think of targets on a systemd system, they think of like the equivalent of the old run levels. Well, there are a lot more targets than that, okay? So in this case, we have the local file system target, and also we see that it requires the systemd fsck service here. And what this means is that whenever we boot this machine, it's going to pull in the fsck service to do an fsck check. Okay, so fsck, it's like the file system check. It's going to check the file system. Now, one little tricky thing here is that this service only runs, okay, or the fsck only runs on certain file systems. So for all practical purposes, that means ext4, for us, okay? A couple other file systems I think fsck works on, but you're probably rarely, if ever, going to encounter them. But in this case, we're running ext4. So in this case, the machine is going to do an fsck on our file systems, a file system check on our file systems every time we reboot the machine. And then down here just shows where the mount is. Yes, this is the boot, and we're mounting it via the UUID number, and it is type ext4. And again, that's just all the information that is in the fstab file in the etc directory. And then we have the dev mapper Lubuntu swap thing there. That's for the swap file, and we can take a look at that. And let's see, we'll do, there we go. And that's what that looks like. And in this one, of course, we do not see anything about the fsck in there, because you don't do an fsck on swap partitions. I mean, like, who cares, right? But anyway, we see there that it is, well, again, here, we're pulling the information from the fstab file. And down here, we are defining where that swap partition is. So, and we see there that it is indeed a logical volume. All right, so much for that, right? Now let's look at something a little bit different here. We're going to go over to, in this case, we are running a virtual machine. This is Rocky Linux 8. And in this case, we're running a logical volumes with the XFS file system. XFS is the default file system for all Red Hat Enterprise type distros. So we can look at the Fstab file here. Okay, so yeah, again, there's the root file system right there. And format with XFS. Okay, and of course that is logical volume there, dev mapper. That's a dead giveaway that it's a logical volume. UUID here for the boot partition, XFS, and of course the swap partition. And we can go into the run directory here. And again, we have pretty much the same stuff. And so we got the boot mount right there. And shows you there, yeah, a UUID. Oh, you know what? I forgot to show you here the file for the root file system on the Lubuntu machine. I'll show you that here in just a second. But anyway, the root file system is this one here, the dash.mount. So the dash then indicates that, yeah, that's the root, the root partition. Okay, but anyway, there's a special way you got to look at this. If you just do like this, you'll get an error because the system thinks that you're looking at some sort of an option, because the dash normally means an option switch. So what you got to do there is just preface that with a /, and then list the file name, and there you go. So anyway, there then is the generated mount unit for the root partition, or the root logic volume in this case. And again, dev mapper are a root and XFS file system. And over here, back on this machine, on the Lubuntu machine, okay, pretty much the same thing, except it's ext4, and we do have a mounting option here. So in this case, we're saying that if there are any errors when we try to mount this, then we'll just remount it as read only. Okay. And the final one I want to look at here is on the if I can find it, there we go, OpenSUSE machine. Okay, and this is another physical machine. This is one that's running out in the living room. I just finally got it running again yesterday. The power supply on this one died a couple of weeks ago. Finally got it swapped out yesterday, so it's running fine again. But in this one here, things are a little bit different because we're not running logical volumes. Okay, so in this case here, we are running Btrfs as the file system because that is the default for OpenSUSE. And so we have nothing but just regular partitions here, no logical volumes, because the Btrfs file system does not require logical volumes. It just it has its own built-in drive pooling mechanism. So if I were to ever run out of space on this particular drive, I could just stick in a second drive and add that to the Btrfs pool without having to jump through the hoops of doing the logical volumes. So that's one of the neat things about Btrfs. And Btrfs is the default file system on OpenSUSE, and I think it might be the default on SUSE Enterprise as well. I'm not sure. And it's also the default on the newest versions of Fedora Desktop. Okay, if you're doing Fedora Server, it still uses ext4 as the default, but on Fedora Desktop it uses Btrfs. But anyway, we can go into the run directory here. And so we see all of our different mount unit files here. And again, here, let's just do a cat. Okay, so this is for the root partition. And again, you can see there, this is the what there. It just shows the particular partition that we're mounting, and it is type Btrfs. So, all cool, right? All very cool. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention as well, the FSCK, I forgot to mention that FSCK, well, I did mention that FSCK only works on certain file systems. So, so when you reboot a machine where the partitions are mounted as or formatted with ext4, the FSCK, the file system check, is going to run every time you boot the machine. But with the XFS file system and the BTF file system that we have on the Red Hat Enterprise machines, you know, that's XFS, and Btrfs on OpenSUSE and Fedora, that FSCK will not run because FSCK does not work with either XFS or Btrfs. So again, for all practical purposes, as far as we're concerned, the FSCK only works with the ext4. Okay, the other ones that it does work with, you're probably never going to encounter. So anyway, that's pretty much it there, really. Pretty much it there for the topic of mounting file systems, mounting partitions under System D. All right, so with that out of the way, it is time for a word from my sponsor, which is me, and my new book, which is entitled Linux Service Management Made Easy with System D. Yeah, so very, very groundbreaking, earth-shaking event here, because this is the first book in the history of mankind which does a comprehensive overview, a comprehensive study, we should say, of the entire System D ecosystem. And right now, I am recording this on 16 December, and yesterday, the year-end $5 sale from Packt Publishing went into effect. So you can get all ebooks and video courses on the Packt Publishing website for only $5. Now, that's only going to be for a limited time. I don't know how limited. I just know that sometime after the 1st of January of 2022, this sale will go away and the book will go back to its regular price. But yeah, if you want to get the ebook right now, you can get that for only $5. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. Go ahead and check it out. If you're a Linux administrator, you're studying to be a Linux administrator, studying for certification exams on Linux, I don't really base this book on any specific certification exam, but still, there's information in it that could help you out in any of those cases. And the other books out there, they're only 2 other books I could find that even have systemd in the title. One's for an outdated version of Ubuntu, the other's for an outdated version of Fedora, and neither one of them goes beyond the basics of just being able to start, restart, and stop the systemd services, and maybe do a little bit of minor editing. No, I go into detail in this book. So you will learn it in depth, and yeah, I think you'll enjoy it, right? And I also write in an entertaining manner. I don't like boring books. You shouldn't either. So I write in a nice, kind of a lighthearted, conversational manner, throw in a little bit of humor, and I think you'll enjoy it a lot, okay? So anyway, the purchase link for this will be in the video description below. And other than that, I think that's about it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and check out the other videos in this playlist, in this partition management playlist, and check them out. Check the ones out in the systemd playlist as well if you're interested in that. So anyway, I think that's about it. Again, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, share the video far and wide, and we'll see you next time.